John has asked me to talk to you about, where he came from. And as John said, in the 70s, I started trading options, actually in 1970 in New York. You can probably tell from where I'm from my accent. But I've been here, believe it or not, 38 years, and mainly because of the CBOE. But I traded what they call over-the-counter options in New York, which was basically a broker-dealer business. And simply put, a broker-dealer, over-the-counter business, just put together a buyer and a seller. This is actually a call option. So when you bought a call, this is what you were buying. If I was a buyer for a customer, I would call a dealer, and the dealer would get the seller side, and then the buyer would hold this, but it would have to be endorsed by the seller. Probably 69 or 70. A group of Board of Trade, probably the board, the governors of the Board of Trade, in particular a man named Ed O'Connor. Ed O'Connor actually brought the idea of listed options to the New York Stock Exchange in the early 70s. New York Stock Exchange wanted nothing to do with it. So they brought it back to Chicago, and Ed O'Connor gave a man named Joe Sullivan the task of taking the project and running with it. And in April 26, 1973, the CBOE opened. They traded 911 contracts. That was it. It was all open outcry, all on the floor, but not without a lot of consternation, regulatory problems. It was a big uphill battle for the people at the Board of Trade, but they survived. A little give and take, because the options business was based on equities, stocks, which, by the way, was in a very, very slow period in 72, 73, the stock market. The options had to be, according to the government, regulated by the SEC. So the CFTC, who regulated the Board of Trade and monitored the Board of Trade, did not have could not, according to the government, have any oversight of the CBOE. So SEC took it, put it under some rules and regulations. But one of the things that I wanted to stress throughout my talk here is opportunity. There was opportunity then and there's opportunity now. But the opportunity that was afforded many, many people in 73 when the CBOE opened was tremendous. People came from all walks of life, all different, even within the industry. As I said, the stock market wasn't doing so well, so stock brokers came to the floor. Stock traders came from New York who didn't really have any business in the over-the-counter business and from the stock exchanges. So they came to the floor and made a good living. And that was opportunity for those people. We also had to clear the trades, which OCC emulated what went on at the Board of Trade Clearing Corp, clearing and settling futures. OCC opened with that same model. Now it became so successful, the CBOE became so successful, other exchanges wanted to get into the business. The American Stock Exchange, the Pacific Stock Exchange, and the Philadelphia Exchange. With that being said, OCC had no longer a monopoly like the Board of Trade Clearing Corp did, so they had to open up to the other four exchanges. Eventually it became multiply traded options, so you could trade IBM on the CBOE, you could trade IBM on the Philadelphia. So it became very, very competitive because of the success of the CBOE. So in the 78, for example, John mentioned some crises within this industry and where the marketplace was not looked upon very favorably by the public, by regulators. That happened throughout my career. In 1978 in particular, before John's time, there was a stock market crash, and because of that, there was much interest. And by the way, before 70, I think puts only began trading on the CBOE, I think it was in 77, if I remember. So up until that point, all we did was trade calls. So in 78, it really hit the fan. Market went down. There was so much business. We even had to stop trading of the options. Meanwhile, the stock is trading, so IBM could go from 120 down to 110, and that was a big move in those days. But the options weren't trading, so there was so much business. I can recall that all the brokers in the pits had to wear specific signs like call 120 calls and 115 calls. It was antiquated, to say the least, and it was just bedlam. So there was a need for technology because of the success of the options market. And technology, I mean by order entry, online clearing, that type of thing. So automated order entry systems came about with some political angst from the people on the floor. Because if you have an automated system that enters orders without a piece of paper in a broker's hand, you're allegedly taking away his livelihood. So there was big political issues on order entry, online clearing, and with market makers also, because they were afraid that things were going to become too automated. And that only went for the CBOE, but also with the Mercantile and the Board of Trade. So these systems, and I was lucky enough or fortunate enough to work on a lot of committees at the exchanges, because my firm, Morgan Stanley, was bringing in that business, that paper, shall we say. And so there was a little animosity, I suppose, between people on the floor and people such as myself who represented the firms. But we brought the business to the floor. Globex was one of the first systems that was instituted here at the Merc for order entry and electronic trading. So with electronic trading, and that eventually went over to the CBOE. They got there over the political hurdles, and I was on the board of the CBOE in the 2000s when we had to fight that battle, so to speak. But ultimately, it worked out for everyone. As you can see, what we've evolved to because of technology. Online, when I say online clearing, that's simply if you have a trade that's done on the floor, it has to be matched up immediately. So handheld terminals came into being, and automatic matching of trades. So that helped the business immensely and helped it to grow. Along the way, there were a lot of different people here in Chicago that, like Dave Goldberg, who started his own clearing firm, the O'Connors, who not only started a clearing firm, but then went on to develop a trading firm, a proprietary trading firm. The Wolverines, maybe you people, some of them work spot trading. I mean, that's where it's evolved to. And in that course, when those people were developing proprietary trading firms, firms like mine, Morgan Stanley, saw the opportunity that was there to trade their own money, as well as trade over-the-counter swaps, CDOs, CMOs, all the bad derivative words that we hear. But it was opportunity, all stemming from what I think from the innovative people here in Chicago, which is one reason why I came here. One of the best moves I think I ever made from New York is to here, because of the opportunity and the innovation that was available in the 70s and throughout the 80s. It's just a great learning experience. People say, well, what did you do for Morgan Stanley? I said, well, I ran their derivatives business in Chicago. When derivatives was a good word. Well, you know, I don't look at that. People need to be educated and told what derivatives can do. In fact, the crash of '87, we had many customers, and just the new product, the OEX product, there was a new product then. And in conjunction with what was going on at the Merkin in '87 with the S&P 500, a lot of people pointed the finger at the derivatives market as causing the crash. It couldn't have been anything but far further from the truth. We had clients that would have lost much more money. In fact, we had clients who made money because they used derivatives. And in '87, people would have lost a heck of a lot more money if they weren't using derivatives. And I think that after the paper was written in '87, it proved the fact that derivatives was not the reason for that crash. So that it'll continue. That type of thing, the stigma of the derivatives business will continue. But I think all of you are in a great opportunity in the technology that we have today, and you have a great opportunity to make derivatives and make this marketplace a much better industry. So thanks for your attention. I appreciate it.